Welcome to the Zoe Empire Week 2. We have a good show for you this week. I hope you enjoy the commish.
Getting the facts and giving hot takes. Getting the stats, he never takes breaks. Always there for you. He's like a mesh.
Before we get into the picks for Week 2, first I'll do a recap of Week 1. I'm not going to spend too much time on my matchup versus Lucas. Obviously, I was blessed in facing him. I will, however, toot my own horn on some of my hot takes. Josh Jacobs still looks awesome. Pittman looked like trash despite having every opportunity with T.Y. Hilton out. And Barkley managed to look terrible because he's behind the Giants O-line. Brian vs. Joe is actually a really close matchup, especially when you consider Brian only had Mostert for a couple carries before he got injured and was out for the season. Brian's team is literally a zero RB team. He is starting Javonte Williams and Hasty as his RB1 and 2 going into Week 2. At this point, I'm shocked Matt hasn't sent him an offer for a team swap. Jason beat Vince in Week 1, which, I hate to say it, but Jason's team looked awesome. Even Devontae Smith is looking like an absolute baller. He outscored McLaurin and Ridley combined in Week 1. Caleb got beat by Mike in Week 1, but honestly, when the Cowboys offense pops off, Mike's going to beat just about anyone. I can't really blame Caleb for not starting Stafford, which would have won him the week. You got Lamar, you got to play Lamar. But I'm sure Caleb is wishing Ayuk had done a little bit more in that game. I guess Ayuk's still learning to be a pro, just like Caleb is still learning how to be a fantasy football manager. Matt beat Brandon, but really, Brandon's team just fell apart. His team looked average to terrible across the board, especially Aaron Rodgers. Although he did have one player that balled out, Melvin Gordon. You know it's pretty bad when you look through your team and the only person that balled out is Melvin Gordon. The only thing worse would be if Melvin Gordon's backup was your RB1. What's that? His other RB's an RB3? Oof, rough. The last match of the week was Cole vs. Josh, and this was my favorite match of the week. It was very high scoring, and both teams did very well. Josh, in fact, outscored every single team in the league, except for Cole. This was a big win for Cole and a good way to start the season. It reminded me a lot of the Thursday night game, except for this time we didn't have to see the defending champs walk off the field looking all smug, especially Tom Brady. Despite his good performance, after Week 1, Josh and Lucas have the exact same record. This leads me to our trades and pickups. After that Week 1 loss, Josh went ahead and acquired Mitchell from Lucas. He gave up Gainwell and 2 second-rounders, which I think is a pretty high price. Although I guess for Josh, picks don't really matter as long as he can win this year. More importantly, Lucas took a young, talented player who showed promise and immediately traded him. Jason Brondos dropped $500 in fab on a guy named Anthony Schwartz, Browns wide receiver who had 3 catches and 69 yards. Nice. Not really sure who that guy is or what Jason saw on him, but he was willing to drop half of his fab on him. Hopefully when Beckham comes back, that doesn't mean less work for his boy Schwartz. Meanwhile, I had a smooth $2 pickup on Jack Doyle, who's definitely going to solve all my tight end problems. Going into the picks for this week, I wanted to have someone who picked against me. Of course, I also don't like losing, so I threw myself a real softball. The person who will be picking against me is James. He doesn't play fantasy football, nor does he watch football, nor do I respect his opinion in general. Hopefully, I can still outpick him. Then again, I'm terrible at making these picks, and fantasy football is about 50% luck anyway, so who knows.
All right, I have James here with me.
Hi guys, I'm James.
We're going to be going through all these matches, and just to be clear, if you somehow outpick me, I'll let you come back week 2 to do it again. If I beat you, though, I'm going to go on to another person who can try to guess the picks. So we'll see how you do, if you can beat me in match, in this week 1. How we're going to do tiebreakers is we'll both guess the scores of the game. So if you want to just, with your picks, throw out where you think their score will be at, just as a tiebreaker in the event that we both guess the same person. So let's start with the first matchup. That's going to be Team Scape, which is myself and Thomas Peterson, versus Majin Trickster, which is Mike. Do you want me to kick it off, or do you want to? I'll go first. So
Okay.
for this one, I think they do have Najee predicted too high. So is Clyde. And I have myself at 110 points. So under my projection, 17 points, but I think 110 is more accurate. For Mike, I think Prescott's a little too high. I know everyone assumes he's going to be putting up 50 points every week, but I think Aaron Jones is a little high at 18. And I'm assuming he doesn't start the Jaguars defense, but I have him projected at 104. So even though this is going against right off the bat, I'm picking an upset, I have myself beating Mike 110 to 104. Where do you have it at?
Alright, so, looking at the matchup, I definitely see that, Ezekiel Elliott has definitely been underused. Last week he only got 33 rushing yards. With that being said, with Dallas playing the Los Angeles Chargers, I do see Ezekiel Elliott getting a little bit more of the touching game. Obviously, Amari Cooper is going to be amazing because he just always is. I'm very very weary about the fact that you have Jared Allen on your starting QB.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. I do apologize. But yeah, you have Josh Allen as your QB. I don't see him getting 28 points. But neither do I see Dak Prescott getting 28 as well. I'm right there with you. I'm thinking it'll be about a 98 to 115 roughly. But I do definitely think that Team Majin Trickster does have the upper hand on that just based off what he has on his team.
What a Cowboy homer. So you have me only getting 98 points, and what did you have him at?
I see Majin Trickster definitely getting at least 100. I'd say closer probably to 115. I definitely do see Ezekiel Elliott getting more touches next go around and definitely getting a lot.
All right, we're already disagreeing. I think you could beat me on this one. I know he's projected to beat me, and I'm expecting Jacobs to play. If Jacobs doesn't play, this whole thing derails. I already had it as a close game as well. So if Jacobs sits, that alone probably derails me.
Oh, definitely. Definitely having Jacobs would help your case, but we won't actually know until Sunday afternoon.
Okay. I like it. You've really dived in. You've done your research. We'll see it. We'll see how this next one goes. It's Brandon versus Vince. Now, Brandon has Rodgers projected at 30 points, which I think Rodgers has a bounce back game, but that seems so high coming off a 3-point game for them to project him to be at 30. I have Brandon well under his projection. He's projected at 124. I only have him at 108, which might even be generous. For Vince, I think he does a little better than he did last week. I think some of his players scored just low and should have better games. I have him at 122 points and winning this game.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Now, what I also do see is that with Brandon, he's already scheduled at 9.2 points for having the Bills defense. Now, let's be honest with each other. The Bills defense nor the Browns defense on that aren't really the greatest defenses in the league.
I think Cleveland is really good.
The Browns have definitely stepped up.
They've got Garrett, and I don't know. They're playing Houston, so was Houston real last week, or were they just playing an easy defense? That's what I would ask. I would bet
exactly, but I don't think it's 15 points worthy.
15 is high for our league. That is I would bet on the over though for 12. I think they could hit 12.
I would say 12. Now with the Bills, they are playing Miami, and we all know how Miami is. They haven't had a good offensive line. They haven't had a good defensive line for quite a few years now. With the Bills, I do see their defense, getting a couple more sacks. I actually think that should be a little bit higher than the 9.2 that was recommended or that's projected for him. Now he does have Aaron Rodgers. Now with Aaron Rodgers, he's Mr. Reliable 90% of the time. He's put out at 29 points. However, I think he may even get a little bit more. I'm honestly going to give this one. I think I'm going to give this one to Brandon.
Okay, so we disagree again. I'm surprised. So the first two we both disagree.
I'm going to put it down for Brandon at 127 to 120 on Vince.
Okay. I feel confident Brandon's team falls apart again, but I don't know. I mean, he has Henry, and he's got people that can pop off. So, Henry and Eckler could put up 60 points next week. It wouldn't shock me, and Jones could have a bounce back game. So, I mean, I'm not saying Brandon's team's terrible. He definitely did way worse than I expected last week, but yeah, okay. So, good pick.
Yeah,
good pick.
And definitely with Derrick Henry, he's didn't get really that many rushing yards as he should have last week. So I definitely think it's...
Yeah. Okay, we have to speed up just a little bit, though, because I don't want this to go too long. On Jason versus Matt, Jason's projection I mostly agree with. I'm coming in slightly under at 130 for him. He does have a really good team, though, so I mean he could definitely hit that number. It's really Matt's team, though. This is the first one I'm projecting Matt to beat his projection. And I have him at 134 points. And I know I talked a lot of crap about Barkley. I know he's injured and limited and facing Washington, who's really good, but I have this weird gut feeling that Barkley actually does well tonight somehow. And maybe I'm insane for that. I think this is a crazy pick. I think the safe money is definitely with Jason Brandos, but I'm picking Matt to win this game, 134 to 130, in a close one. I think that Matt wins this game, and I'm going to look real stupid tonight when Barkley does, 3 points or whatever. But I don't know. I just have this weird gut feeling. I'm going with it, so I'm picking another upset. I'm going with Matt over Jason Brandos. What do you have it at?
Yeah, and so looking at their lineups, I agree with you. I mean, I'm looking at Matt really upsetting Jason, just based off the fact that he has Tom Brady, he has Diggs in there, he has Metcalf. He's even got the Buccaneers defense, and we know the Buccaneers defense it's been unstoppable. Not to mention, look at Brown.
It looked very easy to score on last week with the Cowboys. Who almost upset them. You're such a Tom Brady Cowboys fan. Look at you go. But I'm really glad.
I'm not even a Tom Brady Cowboys fan. And it's not even just that. I just know, based off of the fact that Tom Brady took a brand new team to the Super Bowl, and
oh my God, I hate. We're not going to get in an argument over the storyline. It's not a brand new team. Literally, Jameis Winston is one of 5 quarterbacks, and he fucking sucks. Who got 5,000 passing yards? Because literally anyone could throw in that offense. It's one of the most loaded offenses ever. That's a bullcrap storyline. Anyway, what's your pick on this? What do you have the score at? How much?
I'm thinking Matt's going to take this. I'm thinking 130. I'm staying with the 130 for Matt, but I'm thinking Jason's probably only going to get like 114, 125.
All right, we're very close on that one. I'm actually really glad you're taking Matt because I thought that was a crazy pick that I made. So I'm glad you're also making the same pick as me. All right, on the next matchup here we have Lucas versus Caleb Brandos. 0 RB versus Team Roxiel. What did I put on this one? There's not much to look at Lucas. He has the worst team in the league. I have him well under his projection at 57 points. I think Caleb wins easily. I'm going to say 121. I'm just going to go with sleeper here and say Caleb wins 121 to 57.
Oh, Shaq Hennessy. Oh, God. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Lucas has got a very, let's be honest, terrible team. He's got definitely the worst team in the league, just by far by looking at his team. As much as I would love to see an upset, yeah, I definitely have to go with Caleb saying, he's going to take it. I project it probably at least a 110 to probably a 65.
You can pick the upset, man. This is where you could beat me.
As much as I would love to be able to say yes, I just don't see it. I do not see it at all. Based off of what he's got on his team, he is not stand a chance.
All right, I'm gonna skip one of those matchups and go to R2 Debo versus Lion Pride, which is Brian Smith versus Jason Cole. On this one, Brian doesn't really have any RBs, and I still have him at 119 points. So I mean, I'm putting Javonte Williams at 10 points. I think that he just gets used versus the Jacksonville. I think they get ahead early and they want to run the ball. And I think Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are both going to see work in this one. So I made fun of him earlier in this video for not having any running backs. But I was shocked when I was going through and doing the points. I had Brian at 119 points. I still have Cole beating him at 130. So Cole 130, Brian at 119, but still losing.
Yeah, and see, I'm going to flip that script on you completely. I do not see Cole winning this. Yeah, he does. Brian?
Yeah, Brian is R2.
Yeah, okay. So Brian, while Brian does have Kelsey, they are, it is a Kansas City, and they are going up against the Baltimore Ravens. I don't see Kelsey getting that many points. But I also don't see, with Cole, Kyler Murray pulling up 30 points either. So I'm going to flip that around. I'm saying 120, 110 with Brian taking the win for this week.
I mean, Kyler Murray definitely put up over 40 points last week, so it's possible.
Yeah, but they are up against Minnesota, and Minnesota is definitely a.
I mean, this Burrow had no problem scoring, but hey, I locked it in. I love your pick. I feel like I can come away with a point over you on this one. So, yeah, and it's not just the quarterbacks. Everybody plays. So,
okay.
Our last matchup we have, and I think this is the match of the week. These two teams are projected higher than any other teams. They're both projected over 140, and it's Team Cheetah, which is Joe Hoover, versus Josh, Team Flavorist the Great.
And I see that. Oh my God. Do their teams look sexy or what? Let me tell you this. Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson and Alvin Kamara, it's just looking so good. If there was ever a stacked team, I tell you what, Josh has definitely stacked his team. And I know Josh is the coming in for the returning champ. I know he did end up losing last week, but I have to hand it to him. I definitely do think that Josh is going to take it this week from Joe. I'm actually going to project it a little bit lower. I'm thinking it's going to be about 138 for Josh, and Joe's probably going to be about 125.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it is a little concerning to me that Joe has 3 players on Tampa Bay, and none of them are Godwin or Tom Brady. So, Fournette, Evans, and Gronk. It's such a good matchup though versus Atlanta. I mean, I don't know. You could pull it out. This is the hardest one to call. I mean, this one to me is really good when you look at their flex. And you're looking at Joe's team, I think Tyreek Hill and Lockett are much better flex play than Hunt and Brown. When you're looking at the top, I mean, Mahomes and Cook, super great, right? But you also have Russell Wilson and McCaffrey, just as great. So, man, this one is hard. I so badly want to call this as an upset for Joe, but I also want to beat you. So this is such a tough one. I mean, it really comes down to Kamara and Fournette versus Devontae Adams and AJ Brown. Like those, this is a really close one. I'm gonna, just because I want to beat you so bad, I am going to agree that Josh wins this game. I'm going to keep it real close at 140 to 135. So in hopes of beating you, I don't want you to have a point. So at least hopefully I'm closer on the score. If I'm wrong, if we're both wrong, but okay, I'm gonna say Josh 140 to 135 ends up bouncing back after week 1. Although this, yeah, like I said, this is the highest scoring game. This is the hardest one to call. I think this is going to be the one to watch. So it'll be very interesting if Josh is 0-2 to start the season off with such a good team.
Definitely.
It'll be crazy.
I mean, looking at past stats, I mean, this is where I see like the problem with Joe's team. Yeah, Tyler Lockett got 100 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. So, we definitely can see that he's getting the reads, he's getting, his number called out there. But even with the great players that Joe does have, I honestly just see that, it looks like Josh is just a little bit better. And I think this week is definitely going to show it.
Well, even going into the season, this is my top 2 teams. I had Josh at number 1. I had Joe at number 2. I think they're both very, very good teams. And like I said, season long, I do think Josh's team's better, but it is such a juicy matchup with Buccaneers versus Atlanta. And I know Josh has the pieces of that as well with Antonio Brown. But yeah, we'll see. It's real, like I said, probably the hardest one to call. But all right, man.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on. Thanks for picking against me. I don't respect your football or fantasy football opinion, but it sounds like you did a lot of research, and I'm actually pretty nervous. I picked a few upsets here. That's why I couldn't let myself pick Joe to win, just because I'm trying to play the odds here. I'm trying to do the best job I can picking. So, yeah, you have me a little nervous. It does sound like you looked into this a lot.
And I definitely feel like it was nice to get in on the action. Looking at the stats and everything. I'm really glad y'all have this gave me this opportunity to give my insight.
All right. Well, if you beat me, then I'll be seeing you again next week. Best of luck.
Bye.
That's the show for this week. See you all next time. Best of luck to everyone except for Mike.